Tomorrow night is the Hoosiers at Huber's down in southern Indiana at Borden at Huber's Orchard Winery and Vineyards. It's been going on for 3 decades. It started out as a way to get Bob Knight down there to speak to the Alumni Association of Southern Indiana and Louisville, and is now turned into an NIL event, Chronic. All benefits will go to Indiana University's NIL program, and Coach Mike Woodson. It'll be the first opportunity for the media to speak with him, and last opportunity until the season starts. So we'll be down there covering that. Kurt Signetti, of course, as well. Our first and last opportunity to talk to him before the season gets going and before the fall camp rolls out. In addition to some players that will be there. It's a big event. It always packs the house down there, but it'll be interesting to see what these guys have to say. Of course, Mike Woodson is reloaded, and currently was talking with Todd Leary earlier. The Hoosiers ranked in the top 20 in a lot of most preseasons, top 20 way too early, top 25s.
Yeah, no, this is an exciting time. We've talked about it quite a bit. This off season, it's been a remarkable job by this staff to put together the roster that they have, considering all the holes they had to fill. They've got talent, they've got depth of talent. They've raised the floor on the roster. They put themselves in a situation now where your guess is as good as mine as what the rotation is going to look like, because it certainly seems there are a lot of guys that should have a claim to stake some of those minutes out, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they're distributed, and how that's managed, because that's typically the situation that leads a lot of guys into the portal looking for greener pastures when the minutes just aren't there. So as we've said before, it takes a lot of effort, not only to get the guys on campus, but to get them to buy into what you're trying to do. And when you've got guys, you have multiple guys, possibly filling your same slot on the roster, recognizing it's going to be a competition, and there's no guarantees. And it's one of those situations where you're just going to have to get into the gym and figure out where everybody stacks up. But that's a great problem to have, especially considering, where a lot of folks thought IU would be after last season. It's going to be an exciting time, and none of it matters if you can't get the mix, if you can't get the chemistry together. But you've got guys showing up on campus right now. I think I just saw yesterday Rice is officially in Bloomington now, so you should start seeing them trickle in as summer session begins in earnest and the off-season conditioning program gets underway. And this is when the magic happens, is when nobody's really paying attention. There's no media availability, no cameras turned on. But make no mistake, the summer session is when teams are made or broken, for that matter. So a lot at stake right now that we won't really know about the fruits until November. But the important thing is they've got the roster set. I think we're pretty sure they're set now. Probably going to leave that 13th spot open and start.
Well, that was my question. That was something I was going to ask next. Are the Hoosiers done? Because they do have another available scholarship, and they have. It's unusual because most teams do not have 12, 13 guys that actually can play, that you can actually expect to go out and play. Usually you've got a couple of guys. There's one guy that's almost he's just short of being a walk-on. But the depth on this team is truly deep. I mean, you go all the way down through there. You go past the guys that they added that were obvious, like Miles Rice and Kanan Carlisle and Ballo. But you've got the starters returning, of course, and Trey Galloway, who may or may not start. Not that it matters. I don't think it matters this year if he starts or not. We've seen that guys that start or may have less minutes than guys that don't start. But it's also important to have guys coming off the bench that are just as good as the guys you're taking out. That is the difference. And I think that's what's been a problem for Woodson when he was doing the hockey lineup switch. you're bringing in a whole group of guys that do not come close to what you took out. And now, not that we want to see that type of substitution patterns, or not that fans want to see that type of substitution pattern again. You have the ability to sub with almost equal potential of what you're putting in from what you're taking out.
Yeah, I think it's the depth is certainly there. I think what's going to be really interesting is the dynamicism that this roster is going to enable Woodson with his lineup construction, because it's going to give him the ability to get away from, if he chooses, and that's the big question, if he wants to get away from the too big setup, the bully ball, the buddy ball that has been so prevalent in his offense up to this point. There's certainly the possibility for a lot of really interesting combinations, both scoring, defensively. It's a deep roster, and there's still some questions as far as the post. I don't know that Renew's really itching to play a lot of five in the event that Ballo gets in foul trouble, but with Hatton, you've got a little bit of a backstop there. The question is he Big Ten ready? Because that was certainly something that we've seen in the past where, like last year, when Ware sat, there was a pretty big drop off on both ends of the floor. That was kind of the offensive cog where everything got dumped down low and just sorted from there. Defensively, the rim protection was a big factor, and that was exacerbated, I felt like, because the perimeter defense was lacking pretty consistently throughout the year. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how these changes, how the additions this offseason improve the perimeter defense, improve the offense's ability to play in a more dynamic fashion. Hopefully see a little bit more of the three ball, a little bit less of the long twos, and more than anything, just get up and down the floor, because this team certainly looks to be as athletic as almost any we've seen in a long time, and would love to see them be able to leverage that. And it's on both ends of the floor. I think that gets lost. Athletes, they make a lot of highlights in the offensive end, but defense is where the game truly gets changed. And getting those guys committed to playing the defense, and it took all season last year to really get it back on the level that Woodson had come to allow fans to expect. And that was evident in the results. And even when the offense struggled, once they got the defense dialed in, they were certainly a lot more competitive down the stretch. So would love to see them get that dialed in earlier, so that as the offense continues to grow and develop over the course of the season, you've got that foundation in the defense that's going to allow you to compete. And when you've got the talent like this, you can have guys go all out, not having to save themselves, not having to have too much of a drop off on the offensive end, because they're so committed to playing the defense that they're going to need to. When you've got that depth behind them, it allows you to keep some fresh legs out there. And as we mentioned, by raising the overall talent level, I think you raise the floor and what the baseline is going to be. Even when they're at their worst, they should be able to compete. But that's all on paper, and as we've seen, that has to play out on the floor. So this is where it's happening now, and in this off season, they got to get on campus first, and then they got to figure it out. But that's something that's got to happen organically. And you mentioned Galloway. I don't know that he's cleared to play yet. Could be sometime this summer before he's out there going 5v5 full contact. So it's going to be a time till you get the complete mix together, but it's also going to allow some guys to get some early run in that vacancy.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever is happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.